Good morning and welcome to the studio. Pleasure to have your company here this morning, or if you're catching the replay, welcome. Now, if you're new here and you haven't seen me live before, then make sure you're subscribed to this channel and do me a huge favor. Could everybody here in the live chat right now, please click that like button. It helps push this out in the algorithm. Really appreciate it. Share the love with some others, eh? So today I'm going to be painting something that it's a little bit different for me, but it's a nice welcome departure. I'm going to be painting some chickens, all right? Now, I really love birds. I've painted a lot of birds across my career, you know, working as a professional artist now for, gosh, I can't even believe it. It's been 24 years now that I've been a professional artist. And back in the day when I first started out, I painted a lot of birds. I was really into eagles, still am, love eagles. Go West Coast Eagles. But I really just, there's something about them, right? And when I would look at old master paintings I'll give you one. There's a fantastic painting, an original hanging at the NGV, the National Gallery in Victoria, by a guy named Melchior de Hondecoeter. And I cannot pronounce that. I did my best. So you Dutch people out there, you can school me on my pronunciation. But what this guy could do with birds was unbelievable. And I don't think stylistically this is going to be similar, but suffice to say, I'm thoroughly inspired by the old masters. Now, if we haven't met before, g'day, my name's Tisch. That's my nickname. You can call me Tisch. My friends call me Tisch. What I'm obsessed with, I'm driven by an obsession. I want to get as good as I possibly can at painting. I'm obsessed with art. I'm obsessed with painting. I live, eat, sleep, breathe this stuff. This is me, right? In a nutshell. But one thing that really drives me is helping others get everything they can out of painting. So that when you step up to the easel, you've got techniques, you've got skills to draw upon. I want to help you unlock that vision that's in your head so you can realize that on the canvas. That's why I'm here. I just really feel like that's my purpose and why I've been put here. Is to also help others get better at painting. I love this stuff. So if you're new here, welcome. Again, make sure you're subscribed. And should we just get into it? Shall I show you what I'm working on? This one's going to start a little bit different. And get ready. Have your, now that I've asked you to click the like button, have your finger just, for all you haters out there, not that I get a lot of haters, but sometimes I do. Have your finger just pressed upon that dislike button now, because I've done something a little bit different. All right, so what ordinarily happens when I'm working here, particularly on live streams, I set out with a grand vision and a a mission that I'm going to get the whole friggin' thing done in a few hours. I'm going to be with you 3 hours today, but it never happens. I happen to be a very slow painter. So I wanted to do a couple of things that would help lay the groundwork for today. Okay? What did I do here? Well, I have a design and I got some reference material. My Academy folks are going to see this reference material available copyright and royalty free. So you can see exactly what I'm painting. And you can see also my little design here. So this is a digital design, a recomposition, so I could get through this and get this done. What I decided to do is do a little bit of cheeky Photoshop bashing. Don't do that often, but that's what I did here. I just want to fess up right now. Right there. So a little bit of and a little bit of boosting of the color and some mixer brushes on there. I'm like, it looks kind of cool. But there's an example of one of the reference shots that I had. So in no photograph did I get all three of these chickens and a bunch of chicks down in the foreground there. I sometimes the perfect shot's just not going to line up, right? And so that gives you an example right there of what the hen looks like. And you can see she's right there in that design with our signature rooster just behind. Now, Nick, for you, is that moire pattern of the weave coming through? Just talking to my video guy. Can you see it?
Yeah.
You can. That's interesting, isn't it? Wow. Wow, look at that. Look at that. So let me just shift this up. It's something happening with an interference pattern with the weave of the canvas. And the maybe I'll go to close cam and we won't have so much of that. Why don't I do that? Why don't I do that? Let's go to art close. Here we go. Yeah, that's a little better. So this gives you an idea of my design, right? So what am I looking at here? So what I did, this is why I'm going to ask you, if you want to, I give you permission, because I always get comments on this. Now, often I will design and draw out meticulously by hand, freehand. If you don't think I can draw, then just go ahead and watch some more videos on my channel. But I used my digital projector for this one. Ba-ba-boom! Yeah, as I said, haters gonna hate, so go ahead and do that. But most of you here are cool. I'm sure you're cool. From Camille, we got a question. I want you to do what Camille has done if you've got a question. I'm here to answer your questions. I'll do the best I can to get through all of them. But are the Tisch Dagger brushes softer than normal bristle brushes? Well, they kind of are. I would say they're more flexible than normal bristle brushes because, and maybe I should say, it would be appropriate on this live stream to say, because, yes, okay. Be prepared for dad jokes. What came first, the chicken or the painting? 5/8 of an inch here, bristle dagger brush. This one here, look at it when you look at it edge on. It's very thin through the profile. We're gonna bust out this bad boy today. Love it. But because it's so thin, as in not a lot of bristles right there, it's got some flexibility. And so that could equate as softness. Shout out to Rosemary & Co. I use all Rosemary & Co. brushes. And today, I'm going to be using some of these nice new ones that she sent me here. Short-handled ivory brushes. This looks like a new range, but an ivory long flat. I've got an ivory Edgebert right here, or Egbert. Egbert, but I say Edgebert. Egbert, which is a long a filbert brush, really, really long filbert brush. And we're going to be doing something today that's a little bit different. I tell you what we're going to do today. Today we're going to be doing a Verdaccio. Have you heard of that before? This is going to be an interesting technique where we're actually today in this session, we're going to do the underpainting, and it's going to be a very tonal underpainting with the lights and the darks. We're going to be using a bit of a wipe away technique. So working in with our darker values and trying to achieve that hierarchy of values from darkest to lightest. What's the lightest? Well, when we look here at our painting, the lightest value is this value that we can see coming through, the white of the linen that's on there. Now, is it white? Not really. Very light imprimatura over the top, which was raw umber, heavily rubbed back. It's left just a little bit of a stain. Loving it. And I've drawn up my birds here with a combination of two colors. Let's go to it now. Now, when you look at the palette, today for the Verdaccio, I'm not using all of these colors. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to use two, only two. Transparent red oxide and phthalo green. Really nice combination. Now, red and green sit opposite one another on the color wheel. That phthalo is incredibly punchy, but guess what? So is our red oxide. It's got a really nice rusty stain to it. It's a wonderful color to use. And so what I'm seeing here is that those two tend to cancel each other out. We can make a really nice earthy black. We can push it a little more as we mix more phthalo green. You'll see that to achieve some of our tropical foliage behind the birds and get a little more of that rusty quality by adding a bit more transparent red oxide to bring out some of the red in the rooster in particular. So those two colors, that's all I'm going to use for the underpainting. But what's going to happen here, and this is really inspired by my Tisch Academy members, and if you haven't seen Tisch Academy, we'll talk about it today. But my Tisch Academy members were like, look, really want to see you just finish something off in a live stream. Look, it's tough to do. When you're in here and you're painting live, you know, I'm going to be with you 3 hours today here on YouTube. But when you're painting live, it's difficult to get something done in 3 hours. You know, I can make a really good start, but they really wanted to see this thing being finished off. So what I'm going to do is do the underpainting today. In tomorrow's exclusive Tisch Academy live stream for my Tisch Academy members, we're going to add the first layer of paint. And then next week, we got another 2 live streams back to back, both VIP exclusive live streams over there on Tisch Academy. What we're going to do is send it. We're just going to finish this painting off. So all up, the goal is to get this painting finished in about 12 hours, but spread over 4 live streams. How's that sound? So are we ready to go? We're going to get stuck into it. Did you use the paint to trace them in on the canvas? Is that in green? So it's, Rhiannon, that's using the combination of transparent red oxide and phthalo green right there in my underpainting. Hey, I'm Mac. I'm 10 years old. Good to see you, man. I've just lost your comment. Hey, Nick, can you please come back and scroll back and read Mac's comment to me? Yeah, can you read it to me and we'll make sure we answer Mac's question. He's 10 years old. Can you believe it? Hey, Mac, how you doing, buddy? Yeah, that's it. Would you someday do a video that covers your video and studio equipment? Absolutely. I've done this on my academy. Can you tell us the size of the brushes as you show them? Yep, we'll talk about it today, Joe Butler. Cool. And then did you hunt those heads on your back wall? No, I did not, Robert. No, they were these heads, just to give you an idea. This one here is a pronghorn antelope from North America. I found it at a vintage taxidermy shop. Why do I buy taxidermy? Well, I use them as models, as stand-ins for my paintings. I just painted a big commission that had a buck. This one here was a gift from a buddy of mine. It was a studio warming present, and that there is a Himalayan tar, and they're running wild here in New Zealand. None of these animals are actually found in New Zealand, native to New Zealand, I should say. They're here, but they're not native to New Zealand, and you got to do something to manage the population. But no, I did not shoot them, if that's going to bother you. But getting taxidermy it can be very helpful for painting if you're going to paint animals. Legit, it can help. Anyway, okay. So what was the question from Mac? Mac. Yeah. Tips and brushes you use for fur on dogs. I'm currently painting a Schnauzer. Oh, Mac, you got to check out my YouTube channel. Mac, well done, mate. 10 years old, way to go. I was really getting going when I was 10, so that's awesome, dude. Fur on dogs, check out my YouTube video on how to paint fur. It is several years old now. I think I uploaded that in 2017, 2016, somewhere around there. So have a look at that one. And if that doesn't answer your questions, send me a DM on the Academy and we'll talk about it some more. Okay, cool. I draw with graphite. Well done, Edie. That's awesome. In a way, painting them, they will live forever. There you go, Alice. Okay, all right. So I'm going to get a lot of questions here today that I'm not going to be able to get to everyone because there's a lot of people here watching live. So welcome to the studio. And once again, if you don't mind, hit the like button, hit the like button, hit the like button. Okay, so let's go over here to my main camera. Let me just make a little adjustment right here so you can see me. There we go. And I'll just say, if Tamara is watching, I am recording tomorrow. I am recording on all cameras. There we go. We also recording on our end in HD. So we got this for some demo footage later. And wouldn't that be good? Yeah, that's good. Let's do it. Let's do it. Well, I hope you're in good form. It's early morning here in New Zealand. And we're a day ahead if you're watching in the US. So if you ever want to know if there's a tomorrow, I can confirm. Yes, you will have a tomorrow. I'm already in it. Okay. Let's have a look and have a chat about some of these colors. And I'm just going to rock out with the ivory filbert. No, I got an ivory long flat here. Love this brush. So what I'm going to do is prime my brush with a little bit of Liquid Original. Now I'm going to be using Liquid for this. I'm going to be using Gamsol. And oh, I almost forgot. I need paper towels for this. I need some paper towels. We're actually going to use the paper towels today as a blender, as a paint remover. That's going to be fun. So I'm going to use some paper towels. I'm going to take 2 squares of paper towels. I'm going to fold it over on itself. I'm going to fold it in half. And I'm going to fold it in half again. I got a little booklet here. I can wipe off my brush on the inside of this. But what I'm going to do is fold it maybe a couple more times. And with the corner of the paper towel, I can actually remove some paint. You'll see how we do that today. And over here on the palette, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to pick up a little bit of transparent red oxide at one end. Get a little more liquid on the brush. I'm going to pick up a bit of this phthalo green on the other end. And I'm going to bring the two together. Now, what happens is it goes to be a beautiful earthy green, as I mentioned. Now, this can look incredibly dark. You want about 1 part medium to 3 parts paint. That's the ratio I'm sticking to. But what you want to go for is a nice just combination somewhere in the middle of the road, and it makes a beautiful olive green. But here's the beautiful part about it, is that it's nice and transparent. Now, if I apply it thickly, particularly thick, then what can happen is it will go nearly black. Now, I don't know about you, how black that's showing up on your screen, but for me, that's incredibly dark. I got my line there, I got my drawing, so I'm just going to follow along. And what I want to do first is just establish a little bit of context for my chicks. My chooks. Now, I don't think it matters what you're painting. I mean, a lot of people go, chickens, really? Why chickens? Well, when we look at it, particularly when we look at that reference, there's something about roosters in particular, that beautiful iridescent quality to the feathers, particularly those tail feathers, that I just find so attractive. They make a great subject for painting. But as an artist, I think it's our job to take something that might be mundane, maybe banal, maybe something that other people would just pass by and just go, hang on a second. Why couldn't a painting of just some humble chickens be an adventure? Why couldn't we just make something work with the humble chicken? Hey, I know. That's what I'm thinking. So I'm going to get in there. I'm tempted to pick up other colors. I'm not going to do it in this session. Transparent red oxide and phthalo green, that's it. And we're just going to work that paint into the surface. Now, what I'm using here is a linen panel that beautifully made. This was made by my framer. It's a fine weave linen panel. Shout out to Rachel Linton, who makes these for me now. She does a beautiful job. Fine weave linen, and it's been sized to a birch plywood base, sized with rabbit skin glue. And it's a hard surface. The size of the panel is 16 by 20 inches. In case you wanted to know, I standardized most of my sizes so they fit into a series of ready-made frames that I've been collecting over the years. And so I got some frames there, 16 by 20, 20 by 24, 20 by 30, 24, 36. So I got a series of frames that are those standard sizes. And so I can just click them into place and display those in my gallery. And for the record, if you're ever here in Wanaka in New Zealand, I do have my own gallery. Come and see us in North Lake, Tischler & Co. Fine Art Gallery. So what I'm doing first is just going to establish the dark, but you can see with a little more phthalo green coming through. Isn't that nice? That nice little color there. So what we're going to do is we're going to start to just mark in our darks, working our way across. And I do want to move relatively quickly because you got things to do and probably some pictures to paint. But I also want to establish this scene firmly with our Verdaccio in our first setting. I'm probably mispronouncing that too. I'm a mongrel. I can't pronounce much. I can't even pronounce English words that well. I was born in Texas and I live in New Zealand, married a Kiwi. Grew up in Australia though. There you go, mate. Yeah, so I confuse a lot of people. Heck, I'm confused. So there it is. So Verdaccio, green underpainting. But there's something beautiful about this color. I love the olive quality to it. Very nice. Let's see if we can get you a better view of that. Let's move over here. And I know I got some questions coming through. Can you show one of these days how to use glazing? Yeah, make sure you're tuned in for the next parts of this process because we're gonna glaze in over the top of a thin underpainting, which we're going to achieve today. We're gonna glaze over the top in the next few sessions. So that's a really cool technique, you know. So glazing, you know, a bit of a misnomer when it comes to glazing. People like to use lots of fluid medium and create a soupy mixture and pour that all over their painting and think that they're doing a glaze. Well, the way the old masters would do it would be by using transparent pigments. And it's a very subtle effect. In fact, most of my glazing is done using dry brushing. Now, what happens is we can run into problems when we use too dang much medium. I've done it. I'm sure you've done it at times. It's okay. No shade. It's all good. But when you use too much medium, let's get a little more phthalo green in here for our foliage background. When we use too much medium, what happens is we can lead to discoloration, yellowing later on as our painting ages. It can also lead to delamination, where one paint layer becomes unstuck from another. Something you want to watch out for. So right now, yeah, the paint's transparent, but it's a pigment that's transparent. It's not the reliance on medium. Now I'm using liquid. So what's going to happen is this is going to start to dry off and go slightly sticky in about 3 to 4 hours, maybe 6 hours. And so there will be a point where I'm not going to be able to remove it. But one thing that's going to help me remove it is Gamsol. I'm going to be using a little Gamsol here, and I've got it here in this little jar. So I'm going to dip my brush in there now and again just to remove some material. So a slightly different technique than what my Tisch Academy members would have seen. All right, so I'm just working that pigment across, getting as much as I can down on that surface, but at the same time, I don't want too much thick paint because we want to come in and wipe away, but I'm not going to do it yet. I'm just going to provide a surface here that I can work back into. Too much thick paint, it'd be a little bit too much to try and overcome. But I also want to have, this is going to be pretty important, I want to have some of those darker areas showing up. So I'm noticing in my reference material, like you can see right here, I'm noticing that I've got a dark shadow that's appearing between some of those leaves. So with the ivory, which is a synthetic brush, so this is a long, flat synthetic brush. It's somewhere between a bristle and a sable. Like it's kind of got a medium amount of flex to it. It's relatively soft, but it has a certain stiffness to it. I'm confusing you. I know I'm confused. But it's just beautiful with its shape. So I can get some control, I can get some precision, I can make some chisel-like marks with it, but it's great for that coverage as well as I push it flat against that surface. There we go. So we got a little bit of our background. We're going to work back into that in a second. Let's go ahead and start to bring down some of that color. And I'm going to start to thin out my paint a little bit as we do that. Okay. Robert, I would just do a Google search on projectors. I can't guide you there because my projector's old and there's a lot better on the market. But you know, for what it's worth, I use a BenQ. It's well over 12 years old now and it's still going, so I just still use it. But the technology's come a long way and the price has come way down. So check it out and do some research. There's a lot available on the market. Now, why do a tonal underpainting? Why? Well, hopefully today in this live stream, I can make a case for why you might want to do this in some of your works. I mean, it's a lot of fun shifting up your approach and trying new techniques. It's something that I enjoy immensely. I don't want to just be doing the same thing over and over and over and over and over again. I change the subjects that I'm painting. I paint a lot of different stuff. But there's something about this where when we establish our value with a little bit of color in there, I mean, there is a color, this nice olive green that's coming through. But when we establish our value, that seems to be the thing that the entire painting hinges upon. Now, I have a hierarchy that I consider whenever I'm doing any representational realist painting. The hierarchy is first my drawing, my line and shape. This is my composition. This is the structure of the painting. I really think a lot about that line and shape. So I took some time to design my composition, and even though I was using my photo reference and bashed it together there digitally, so, you know, a hater's gonna hate, but that's all good. But I just want to be straight up with you and tell you how I'm doing it. And also, if I'm honest, I have a lot of people that are following me and are those Academy members. A lot of folks are just like, oh, is it okay if I just project? I'm like, hey, you do you. It's all good. I encourage you to draw, build up those drawing skills. But if you just want to get started, as long as you got a brush in your hand and you're doing the do, just, hey, we're cool. We're cool. Just do it. Go. Get painting. So whatever's going to get you going, that's the main thing. So I also want to show some of my members that had questions about this and were really hating on themselves. Hey, it's okay. I'll do it sometimes too. It's all good. And a lot of professional artists you'll find will do that. How many are going to be honest about it? I don't know. I ain't judging them. Now I'm going to get in there with a little bit of my paper towel and rub back a little bit of that color. And you'll find it sticks down pretty good. It absorbs into that surface pretty nice. Maybe too much. That's okay. We can remove some more of that color. All right. We'll start to bring some of this down into here. Working very thin. Is that oil primed? Yeah, it is. It is oil primed. And why not just rub in the green paint since it's an undertone? Why not rub in the green paint? Well, I don't know. Watch a bit more of this and maybe that'll make the case for it. But one thing I don't want to do is lose my original drawing that's under there. Hopefully I'll keep some of my lines. The drawing's pretty faint. But using that edge of the paper towel, I'm going to remove a bit more of this material. But I know with the Gamsol, we can come back and remove even more. So one thing I want to establish while I can see it here is I got a shadow that's being cast by that little chick right there. So I'll go ahead and mark that in. I got a shadow being cast by our rooster right there. Beautiful. Work up to the edge of that chick. There is one little thing I want to do that I'm noticing in my reference is that these 4 chicks are all in a line. So I'm just going to take this guy. That's the little fella right there. And I'm going to move him back over here. So he's underneath the hen. And then that will allow for that shadow to be cast right there. There. Just a little design choice on the fly so they don't all form a straight line. Could you please give lessons on gouache? Maybe sometime, Shuva. And I've answered that one. Is there an advantage to the brush you were using over using a Tisch dagger? Barbara, great question. This one's just giving me a little bit of control, and I wanted to give it a bash, seeing as Rosemary just sent me these. She makes beautiful brushes, but I saw this pack sitting there and thinking, what project could I use this for? Dang it, I'm going to use it for my initial underpainting. I'm going to use those for my Verdaccio. It's fun to say, Verdaccio. Now, have you ever tried an underpainting like this before? Let me know in the comments. Let me know in the chat, the live chat. You ever tried this before? I hope after seeing today's live stream, you give it a go. I guarantee it's a lot of fun. How do I know it's a lot of fun? Can I show you something? Can I just show you something real quick? Here, look at this. Here's one I prepared earlier. Can I do this without destroying my studio? Here we go. Boom. I'm still working on getting the colors in there, but there's the Verdaccio right there in my little color study. I like to know the road ahead when I'm painting, and so this really helped me get a clear idea of how those colors would lay over the top. We'll be getting some of those colors in there on our rooster in particular, on our hens, on some of the grass and the foliage in tomorrow's live stream over on Tisch Academy. But we're going to get the Verdaccio done today. Excited for this. Stoked on this, man. Awesome. Hope you're in good form wherever you are. If you're just coming in now, make sure you hit the like button. Please do me a favor. Do me a favor. Hit the like button. It helps this live stream go out to more people. We're doing more and more live streams, you might have noticed. And have you noticed, we upload a video every Wednesday now, if you're in the US, every Wednesday on the channel. I got a new video coming out today, all about plein air painting. So that'll be fun. Oh, and by the way, speaking of plein air, if you want to meet in person, I don't know, you might want to. But if you do, then I'm going to be at PACE next year, Plein Air Convention and Expo, happening in the Ozarks over there in the United States. Really excited for it too. I'm going to be teaching a workshop there, and I think they've even got me painting on stage. So check it out. It's pleinairconvention.com, pleinairconvention.com. And it would be cool to meet you in person. So I'm going to go a little bit darker here. Let's go to our close-up. There we go. Make sure I got my focus dialed in. And with the darker brush, a little bit more paint, but not too much. Start getting some of those darker feathers in here. Now the ivory, the bristles on the ivory brush, they're so compact, but because it's a synthetic, it lends itself to a much more controlled and thinner paint application. Very smooth marks. One thing I don't want to have in my underpainting is any texture. I don't want texture. It's going to be distracting when we go to glaze over the top or add fresh paint over the top. Just a thought, watching Stuart Davis. Okay, well, have a look. Why not a burnt umber instead of transparent red oxide and phthalo green? Is it because the bird is mostly red, complementary colors? Right question, Kimberly. It's a transparency thing. So I want really transparent colors for this technique. I don't want something that's too opaque. If I have something that's too opaque, then it's just not going to work. Hey, Joe Moore, can you pop to the corner store there and just get me some more paper towels? I'm going to run out on this live stream. I could. Yeah, can I use that? Yeah, I could totally use that. I didn't even think about that. That's a great idea. Great idea. That's yep, thanks. Thanks, mate. All right, let's get a bit more of this color in. I do want here. Let's this is going to be an issue later on. I can just tell. So I'm going to before I work on my birds, note to self, get that background in there. And I don't want any of that cheeky little white imprimatura light stained background coming through. Can't have it. Don't want it. Now, if you got a question, do what Joni's done. QQQ. It helps me see it. I'm painting and I'm looking at the live chat at the same time. I can also juggle and chew gum at the same time, barely. But QQQ, it helps it stand out, helps me see it. That's how we do on Tisch Academy. So, what did Joni ask? I see you're using a new black ferrule brushes. Do you find them better than the traditional shiny metal ones? I don't know why they did this with the brushes, but this is neat. So it's a Rosemary & Co. ivory brush. It was just a new range that they sent me. Good fun. Hang on, my tech guys just arrived in studio. Again, it's early here in the in New Zealand, so I need to ask him a quick question. Just give me 1 second. Is it live right now on the website? Half price? Yeah. Okay. It's still half price. Tutorials Black Friday, VIP on the Academy. They're all still okay. Cool. Half price for VIP, 40% off the tutorial. Pin a comment for me. Well, on the Tisch Academy, pin a comment for me on the live feed, please, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Awesome. Well done. All right. What brand of linen panels do you recommend? I have mine made for me, custom. So, but there's a lot out there. So just do a bit of research, play around. But you really do get what you paid for. But what you pay for. So, Artifacts do some really good ones. Raymar do some fantastic panels. Clairefontaine do some great ones as well. Man, we're spoiled for choice these days. They did a plein air to minimize reflections. I don't understand the question, Joni. Sorry. When you started talking about your hierarchy and only got as far as drawing the rest, thank you, Cindy. I did that. I will do that. Maybe I need some more coffee. So line and shape is number one on my hierarchy of 4 things. This is all we have to juggle while we're painting traditionally here in the studio. This is all we've got to work with. What are we working with? Line and shape. Our value, I think I did get to the second. Then our color, and then finally our edge. And this is what makes up a painting. So our drawing, the composition, the design, the flow, the vectors, the perspective, all that stuff, that's our drawing. So the linear aspect. Then value. Value is so important when it comes to painting. This is how light or dark something is. And so here, what we're doing is we're firmly establishing value. Then finally, our color and edge. Well, with color, that's going to be important. We're painting, right? So automatically we go, what's important in painting? Color. Well, there's two things that we need to consider first. That's why we have this hierarchy, you see. But color is important. But I believe it's secondary to value. And it's third on our list after drawing and value. Then finally, edge. And so you'll find that as we go through our process, now I follow a particular methodology that I've been working with and developing over the last 24 years. There are many different ways to think about this and approach this. I'm not saying my way is the only way. I'm just saying it's a way and it happens to work for me. But I find that this is kind of an all-encompassing philosophy, and it helps it break it down, which can be incredibly complicated, helps break it down in my mind in a way that I can understand and process this information just piece by piece. So the process that I'm following is going to follow in that hierarchy in terms of those steps. So what did we do first? Well, we did our little drawing, right? Now it's the value. So that's what we're going to talk about today. You know, color is somewhat a consideration, but this is mostly just establishing firmly those values. So in tomorrow's live stream, when we get into color, then my goodness, that's going to be some fun. But edge is going to be the last live stream where we're going to really focus on soft edges, sharp edges, and trying to create something that looks really cool in 3D. And I love trying to create something 3D. So I find the thing that really makes the difference between a beginner and somebody who's been doing this for a while is that edge quality. Now, we all start off by having edges that are really sharp, right? I've done it. You might have done it too. But how do we know where to have a sharp edge versus a softer edge? And so that last one, that's an elusive one. But that's the hierarchy: line and shape, value, color, and edge. And what I'm trying to do with that is create a convincing sense of form, depth, light, and material. Hope you're doing well wherever you're tuning in the world. Thanks again for joining me here in the studio. I got a little bit of Gamsol here on my brush. It's mobilizing a bit of that paint, but I'm keeping it nice and thin. I often don't paint with solvents. I don't like painting with solvents, but here I'm using it to just mobilize a bit of that paint and even remove some paint. So that will come in handy in a little bit here for when we wipe away more of our highlights. I want to get a nice sharp edge at the top of that feather. So it hasn't been very much time. We're coming up at the top of the hour. It hasn't been very much time, and we've already started to get a sense of what's happening. Well, I am anyway. I hope you are from watching there in your studio. But because I know the road ahead, I did my little color study, my little Verdaccio study. Feeling pretty enthused about this painting. I think it's a cool idea. Hopefully we'll end up with a nice chicken painting out of it. From Horse TH, chicken are never still. Is it possible to add movement to the animals? Sure. You could do some blurred edges. Okay. Reggie has a question about greens. What about sap green and emerald green? Yes, I actually do use often chromium green oxide and emerald green. The oil paint that I'm using is made by Blue Ridge. I use Blue Ridge handmade oil colors made in North Carolina. Fantastic colors, beautiful stuff. So I'm using Blue Ridge, and I find that the phthalo green does pretty much all of the heavy lifting on the palette. I really love the range of greens that I can achieve with just phthalo, but I mix a lot of my greens with my range of blues and my yellows. So that's something that I've become quite accustomed to, is just mixing green. Green can be a little bit problematic. Oftentimes they can feel a little bit artificial, a little bit chemically, a little bit acidic on the palate. So you got to be careful when you're mixing your greens. So or when you're using them straight out of the tubes. So you can make some pretty intense greens for foliage, for various things, just by mixing. So like one example of an intense green that we'll use here on the palette is a combination of, well, let's just go to it, is a combination of cadmium lemon and cobalt teal. A very cool, very bright green, amazing green. Over here for an earthy green, for some more grayed out foliage, let's say you're painting some Australian gum trees, some ultramarine blue and transparent yellow oxide. That does pretty good. But often what I'll do is I'll stick with this chromatic order on my palette, moving through my yellows to oranges to violets, through the reds to violets to blues to green. So I'll add those greens either side of my phthalo. You know, maybe a little bit of chromium green oxide there and a little emerald to the other side. Now, emerald's nice. I mean, I could have probably used a bit of emerald here for my underpainting, for my Verdaccio. Emerald's nice, but it's not quite as strong as the phthalo, but it does have a beautiful transparency to it. I've been playing with it more and more, and I do like it. I do like it a lot. Let's get another feather in there. Why not? Okay, we're getting there. We're going to add some thinner lines here by removing some paint. Not worried about it just yet. Same with a couple of these thinner feathers that come over the back of the tail. But so far I'm vibing. I don't know about you. How about you? Certainly grateful for your company here this morning. Again, if you don't mind, do hit the like button for me. Really helps me out and get this video out to more people. I appreciate it so much. I love this combination. I gotta say, if you haven't played with phthalo green and transparent red oxide yet, I highly recommend it. Great combination. We can rub through. I'm gonna go through a lot of paper towels today. Oh, wow. Thanks for the super chat there, Chris. Holyoke Art. Which course would you recommend to an intermediate looking to go pro? I would highly recommend taking advantage right now of our 50% off Tisch Academy VIP sale. We're going to be running it for today only. I've asked my tech guy to just make this happen and just extend it for one more day, just to give you an opportunity to get in there, take advantage of the Black Friday sale. That's what I'd recommend. Because if you're wanting to go pro, it's not just the painting side of things. It's the business side of things, the mindset side of things. We actually talk about art business a whole bunch. In fact, I tell you what, Chris Holyoke, one of the things that I do with my Tisch Academy members is I jump on Zoom calls with them, and we, on a one-on-one, we go over some of the things that you're struggling with in your art business. Now, we're fast approaching 4,000 members on the Academy. I can't do this for everybody, but as many as I can get through, I'm jumping on those Zoom calls to work with people one-on-one. And then we share that Zoom call with all of our members, and that ends up helping a lot more people. So why don't you check that out? Go ahead and click that link there, Chris, and anybody else who wants to know. Click that link up there and check out Tisch Academy, and you can get it 50% off right now off your Academy VIP experience. But we're only going to be running that for another day here, and that will also unlock access immediately to all of our video content in the library, and you'll get access to those weekly live streams that we have here. Every single week, we're going live from the studio. The shortest live stream that I'll do on the Academy is a 3-hour live stream, but often we'll go live for 5 hours. Some I've done 6-hour live streams, so you can get a lot done in that amount of time. So check it out. And thank you for the super chat. Oh, Rachel Tischler, wifey is in the house. Morning, sweetheart. The Tisch Academy is 110% worth it, says Gary. Thank you, Gary. Is this similar to a Brunei? Yes, it is, Michelle. Yes, it is. Like you did in your portrait of Rachel. Absolutely. Different color gets a name. Exactly. Exactly. So this technique being green, Verdaccio, verde, green, right? But my goodness, if you haven't tried it yet, transparent red oxide and phthalo green. Let's go ahead and get over here to our palette. Transparent red oxide and phthalo green. Now, coming up here at the top of the hour, what I'm going to do is take a quick coffee break. You got to have some fresh coffee while you're working here in the studio. I'll take a quick coffee break, and I'm going to carry on with you for another, 2 hours. And hopefully we'll get something done. But so far, I'm enjoying it. If you're enjoying it so far as well, if you're learning something and coming away with the technique, then go ahead and hit that like button for me. If you're not subscribed already, maybe you're watching the replay, please subscribe. And let's hang out in the studio together. And I say I'm going to take a break, but then I'm like, ooh, I can see another brush mark that I can make. Ooh, there we go. Fantastic. Just pushing paint on that surface, keeping it thin where I need a little bit more of a feather coming through. Goodness me. And then right here on the side of the body, we got some red. So I'm going to get a little bit more transparent red oxide in here. Let's use a little bit of that. Now, the reason I'm using these ivory flats is just the control. I can get in there and make these marks. That chisel shape is really helping me with some of this feather-like texture. Before I go to break, just quickly, what I'm going to do is just fold up a little bit of paper towel here, get a nice little edge, come in here, and let's just remove a feather right there. There we go. There's another one. Oh, so much fun. So much fun. You shouldn't have this much fun while you're painting. Painting's serious, don't you know? It is. Okay. We'll be back in about 5 minutes. Go and freshen up that cup of coffee. No, don't. Instead, watch this. Are you ready to improve your art? Do you want to take things to the next level? Well, at Tisch Academy, we'll guide you through the whole process. Now, traditional art school can be really expensive, and you're going to go through all of that time, and at the end of it, are you even going to learn how to paint? You're taking a huge risk, and not to mention, you got to travel there to take those classes. But here at Tisch Academy, you can learn at your own pace, on your own time, and learn those things that actually interest you. With your Tisch Academy membership, you're going to unlock over 350 hours of exclusive video content. You'll have access to the critique videos, but most importantly, those weekly live streams if you're a member of our Academy VIP tier. Now, maybe you've hit a creative block and maybe you've experienced that low energy when you approach the canvas because you're just not sure what to do. I get it. I've been there too. But I guarantee that Tisch Academy will see your art soaring to new heights. Now, that's a bold claim, I know. Don't just take my word for it. Here's Daniel, who's experienced massive results from taking our courses on Tisch Academy.
If people just get on my Instagram and scroll down to the bottom and see what my first works were to now, you've just changed my life. I think you've got so many tools on the Academy that anyone that goes on there is going to be successful in their own personal way. And when I start painting and do something like this that I never thought I could do 3 years ago, there's no way. I don't know, it's got more of a meaning to life now, and now I have goals.
Now, I'm so inspired by Daniel. He's kicking massive goals. Now, here's Penny, who's experienced similar things from Tisch Academy.
I have painted for a long time, actually, but I felt kind of stuck. You know, I kept doing the same things, and I didn't feel like I was progressing. And so when I found Andrew's videos and then later joined the Academy, I learned some concrete things, like it was my composition that I'm off. And I learned some steps where I could go, oh, okay, that makes a difference. And in an encouraging community, I would put a piece up, a photo of what I did, and got some really good feedback, encouraging feedback.
Now here's Swati, who's learned from our tutorials and has applied that to her own art and is now creating bigger, more ambitious work.
Hi, I'm Swati from India. I always wanted to be a painter but couldn't pursue it professionally, and it was more like a hobby. This is how I used to paint before. Then I took Andy's tutorial to learn more about realism and did few of his copies too, and this is one of them. It helped me a lot in understanding the concepts like color mixing and composition. This is where I am now. Thanks a lot, Andrew. You have been a great influence on me. Looking forward for your next tutorial.
Now, I just love Terry from Montana. Here's what he's experienced from Tisch Academy.
Howdy, I'm Terry Hirsch from Dillon, Montana, and I became a student of the Tisch Academy with Andrew Tischler because I had a stroke 3 years ago, and part of the therapy was painting, so I took it up. To give you an idea how I've advanced, this was my first painting, and this is now where I'm at. This is our daughter, and through 4 different paints, that was it, put into that. That's what you can get out of the Tisch Academy.
Now, these are just a few stories from some of our members on Tisch Academy. Trust me, there's loads more. So if you've been putting off this vital step in improving your art, then don't wait any longer. Jump in now, and I'm gonna make it super easy for you. We offer a 30-day money-back guarantee. No questions asked. If you jump in and you find that this isn't for you, then no problem at all. I'll refund all your money. Now, registering for Tisch Academy couldn't be easier. It only takes a few seconds. You're only 1 click away. There's no hidden costs and no lock-in contracts. Once you're in, you're in. And remember, it comes with that 30-day money-back guarantee. So what are you waiting for? Click that link and join us at Tisch Academy. I'll see you in the studio. Welcome back. Thanks for that. Just needed to take a quick break and get sorted here. But yeah, look, right now, today only. Okay, so if you're watching the replay, sorry, but it's still totally worth it. But today, you can get your VIP membership for half off. 50%, that's right. Somebody was asking how to upgrade. Just click that button, upgrade. Couldn't be simpler. And I just want to shout out, where is he? I just saw it. I just saw the comment here from SRI, just got accepted into a competition or an exhibition in Denver. Awesome. And we've seen a lot of our members make that transition from, painting in their studio, just doing their thing, which is all good. It's important to find that creative fulfillment, right? But wanting to make that switch to going pro How do you do that? And so we've had several of our members make that transition to becoming a professional artist, which is super inspiring. So join us. I hope you will. So check it out. Click that link there that you see in the live chat. It's a pinned comment. You get it for 50% off. And then also, we'll link to it in the description down below. So I'll make sure my tech guy puts the link in the description down below. Would love to see some specific examples of good versus bad techniques of edge. Do you currently have examples? If not, would you be interested in making a video showing some examples? Micah, shout out to Micah. We just did a video together, didn't we? That was an epic concept you're working on. But yes, I think we should actually address that with this painting here and show the difference that edge quality can make. All right. In particular, Micah, what I'll draw your attention to is the quality of edge in our background versus elements that we want to draw the eye to. If I go too sharp back here, I'm going to draw the eye too much. And so this will be a consideration for the next phases in this painting of when I'm doing it back here. I think what I'll do is I'll overwork some of this stuff just to show you how distracting that could be. So it's knowing where to solidify and sharpen that edge. That's the trick. So how do you know? Well, I think your focal point, your subject, your primary focal point, you've got to address that as the artist. And when you address that, you're like, that's where I want the viewer to be focusing. Now, generally speaking, sharper edges, if they're going to draw the eye, reserve that for your focal point, may I suggest? I think that would really help. All right, let's go ahead and bring in a little bit more color now. And this time, working with our Rooster, I think what we're going to do is we're going to get out another one of these long flats, one that has not been completely messed up with that phthalo green. I'm going to get into that transparent red oxide. Oh, a little bit of phthalo green. Why not? Just for a bit of coordination. Otherwise, it might seem a little out of place, right? Yeah, I think so. Let's work in here a little bit of that transparent red oxide now for our Verdaccio. Well, now it's something else. What's a red underpainting called? Those of y'all who speak Italian, maybe there's a French word for it. I don't know. And maybe you can spell it out phonetically so I can do my best with my terrible New Zealander, Texan, Australian accent. All right. Where's the upgrade button? Mountainside. There's also tech support there. We can get you hooked up. So if you just grab your annual subscription there, Mountainside, we can also help you out by refunding you the difference there. Okay. So don't worry, we got you. We got dedicated tech support in the house. How good. So I'm just rubbing in a bit of this red color. I know that I want to have that beautiful rusty quality coming through on those feathers. We'll go ahead and work a little bit of this color down onto the flank right here at the side of our rooster. Start working that down. Beautiful stuff. I think so. And then right here, I'm noticing a bit of a darker transition, a bit of a darker tone with some of these feathers right here. I love how the flat, it almost feels very feather-like as we drag that along in the direction that those feathers are growing. But one thing I'm doing is I'm impacting the surface here with just the edge of our brush, just one corner of the brush, and it's weighting the line to one side. So it's giving a bit of a feathery quality to it. That's cool. A little more green. So again, the reason I'm not using umber, I often will use umber and ultramarine and things like that. I want to keep it transparent. So it does help when we're doing an underpainting and you're using the white of your linen or your canvas. When you're doing that underpainting, keep the pigment nice and transparent. So the paints that I use, for the most part, there's a couple that don't fit this rule that I have here in the studio, but it's a single pigment per tube. A single pigment per tube. You'll see a lot of art material brands out there, particular oil paint manufacturers. The same goes with acrylics and watercolor, but they'll make a mixture and a combination and put that in the tube. I always flip the tube over and have a look and see what chemical compounds they got in there. What are the chemical names of the pigments that they used in that combination? What is it that they used there? And oftentimes you'll see a whole list of pigments that went in to make that color, a Flinders Blue Violet, for instance. It's like, well, it's a nice color, but I'll mix it myself. Thank you very much. This is one little thing that would help you if you ever wanted to experiment with limiting your palette. Now, I wouldn't say I have a terribly limited palette. I like to use a lot of different colors, but I can. When I'm working plein air, I do really make an effort to limit my palette to the essentials. It helps cut down on some of the weight when you're working out in the field. All right, I'm going to remove a few of the highlights, but I'm just giving myself a little bit of a base for now. How are your cameras doing? Asks Lynn. They're doing great. They're recording. They are recording, firing on all cylinders. Can we expect new podcast episode to be posted soon? Yeah. My faves are Joe Paquette shows. Yeah, I've got to have Joe Paquette on. In fact, I might even record a podcast with Joe Paquette this January when we host his art tour here in New Zealand. He's doing a plein air painting trip here with us in New Zealand. So really excited to have Joe come out to New Zealand and show him some of my favorite spots. I've never met Joe in person, but I consider him a good friend now. And what a blessing he is. He's just such an incredible painter. And really, yeah, I love it. He gives me a hard time and it helps me grow. But he's awesome. He's awesome. But yeah, I've got to get back to the podcast, don't I? Things have been pretty busy, so I had to put the podcast on the back burner, but I'll bring it back. I fully intend to bring it back there, Gary. Bit of transparent red oxide for our crest. Is it the right color for this? Well, no, but right now this will be the base, and we'll apply some colors over the top in our next sitting. But I tell you what, man, love this transparent red oxide. It's giving me some nice rusty notes here. Now there's a bit of a shadow. So as that crest comes over, folds over his head, I'm seeing the shadow appearing. So I'll mark that in now. With my flat, and just to give you an idea, I've got two brushes and my paper towels in my hand, and so I'm alternating between these brushes as I change colors. You can do it with one brush, but it just means that you're washing your brush between transitions in color. Having multiple brushes on the go, and also a bit of paper towel to wipe off the brush. That can help just clean things up, speed things up. What are the colors on your limited plein air palette? You'll have to stay tuned for the YouTube video that's going to drop today, Joni. So check it out. It's coming at you today on this very YouTube channel. Did you do a thumbnail study first? I did. I showed it, Sarmed. Sarmed, good to see you, brother. I did show it at the start of the live stream. I will, for the people that came in a little bit late, I will show you. I'll lift it up here again. Can I hold this without destroying the studio? Here we go. Ah, there it is. So I did my Verdaccio, and then I just started painting into that this morning, just to give me a little bit of an idea where I'm going with this project. So I got a little study there. Never saw a green feathered chicken, says Antje, though this is the underpainting. This is the underpainting. By the way, if you look at the reference material, I'm sorry, but look at the design. Those colors are pretty true to life right there in my design. And I boosted the color a little bit, but there's some beautiful iridescence in those those tail feathers in particular, particularly some of the side feathers there. So I think it works. I'm just saying. But green chickens, they're my chickens now. You can do what you want, huh? All right, let's go back over here to our close cam. Jim Fairburn, do my Academy members have the reference material, sir? Yeah, okay, great. Thank you. So just to let my Academy folks know, you've got access to my design and all of my reference material. So if you want to paint along or have a go at this project, you got that reference there, royalty and copyright free. So check that out and you can follow along with today's lesson. And we'll be carrying on with this very painting for the next 4 live streams over on the Academy. Well, the next 3 after this one over on the Academy. A little bit of a shadow there on his crest. Why not? Okay. I'm having too much fun. I better speed it up. Yeah, I know. Speed it up, dude. Okay. With a clean brush, I've just got a little bit of Gamsol. I'm just going to drag in a little bit of color there because I don't want just bare canvas and Prematura coming through. I'll come back through with some highlights here shortly. Towards the end of this process, today, we'll reveal some of those highlights and rub back. But for now, I just want to kill those little spots that are showing through. Get a little more contrast right there. Oh, yeah. Love it. Cool. We got a rooster. How's that? Live stream, complete with sound effects. Epic. Again, if you're just coming in, if we've never met before, you're not subscribed to this channel, g'day. My name's Tish. I'm an artist. I've been a professional artist now for the last 24 years. I love to teach people how to paint. And if you love to paint, then we should totally hang out. Welcome. If you haven't already clicked the like button, make sure you do so. Really appreciate that. Helps the channel. Helps push this out there to more people. Thank you so much for doing that. Couldn't do it without you. Okay, let's start working with our other hens. This one right here that's sitting on the grass, I want it to just go away. I do want her looking back this way. I felt this created a bit of flow in the composition. So head angled down, twisting this way. I was trying to find the right animal and the right angle. And I thought that worked pretty well. But in my reference, she's standing, walking and pecking on the ground. But I just cut her legs off. Tasty drumsticks. And ended up just sitting her right down there. So we'll push her back first. And work in our Verdaccio colors. Now she's simply there as a bit of a device, not only compositionally, but in terms of value back here, I want a bit more of a mid-tone. She's relatively dark as she's tucked up under that tropical foliage. But that's what I'm thinking. That's what I'm thinking. I love that you do the thumbnail studies. Great process. Thank you, Sarmed. Appreciate it. I think it's important as an artist that you You have some idea about the road ahead, and it does remove a lot of guesswork. And you'll tell at a small scale if your idea is going to work or not. And it's important. It's important to try and just look. Let me suffice to say, I find that it helps me not start over and over and over again, or continue to work and obsess and labor over the same painting over and over again. Invest the time up front in your design. And you'll find in the long run that taking a little extra time up front saves you a mountain of time later in the process. It's incredible. And I resisted it for a long while in my career. But when I finally just went, man, I got to spend some time just designing this. A simple thumbnail sketch can tell you so much. If it's not going to work as a thumbnail sketch, then it's probably not going to work as a painting. So take the time. I'm still shocked at how few artists really want to go to the extra little bit of effort. It doesn't take long. Okay, maybe the design might take you a full day, but yeah, I really want to paint. I know it's going to work, but just take a minute and just make sure. Just do a little color study, do a little thumbnail sketch. Give yourself some options. Definitely worth it. Definitely worth it. Okay, just wiping a little paint off that brush, but I can pick up some of that paint later. That'll be an example of one of those lost edges. It's getting there. I can tell. We're going to have a bird right there. So I mentioned a name in the beginning of this live stream, Melchior de Hondecoorter. And again, apologies for the mispronunciation. I know I'm butchering that. It's okay. But Melchior de Hondecoorter. Let me see. Melchior space DE space HONDECOERTER. If you Google that, it'll probably correct your spelling. But Google some of those names. Now he used, I'm convinced he used taxidermy in a lot of it. But Dutch artist, I believe 17th century, but beautiful bird paintings. And he just had a whole different range of these amazing scenes, just birds. Gorgeous stuff. But I imagine, looking at his work, that he would have used an underpainting. Did he use a Verdaccio? I don't know about that. But I imagine he would have used a tonal underpainting. And a lot of the old masters did. It just firmly establishes your scene, and it gives you a really nice base to work on. That means we can work with thin color over the top. But that said, is all the paint that I'm applying over the top of this going to be thin? No. So I'm going to keep my shadows relatively thin and use some of this base color, which will always come through transparent glazes. But my highlights, I'm going to make relatively thick. So I like using that contrast of surface texture of thick versus thin. Really creates an interesting surface. I'll just work in the direction of those tail feathers up there. So she's holding her tail up, and it's casting an interesting shadow across her back as she flicks that tail up. So these chickens that you're seeing here, I photographed these back in 2023. We were there in October. I was in Rarotongan. So we went on a little family trip. And it was probably One of the worst holidays I've ever had. Not Rarotonga's fault. Day one I spent in the emergency room. And then the rest of the trip was in agony. Just stuck in the hotel with nothing to do. And I'm not a TV guy, but I was just there watching Netflix. And horrible. My Tisch Academy members know the story. But I'm all good. But it was a pretty challenging trip. All right, so let me adjust this camera. No, I'm not, Edie, but I've not heard that name, but that's interesting. I think I could pronounce Martin Johnson Heed. No, I'm talking about Melchior de Hondecourter. There we go. Gita has put the name in the chat. Thank you very much. Go ahead and copy that name, open a new tab, and yeah, Andrew usually tones the canvas first, and Thomas, I did tone the canvas this time. I did. It's got a very light imprimatura on it before I sketched in my birds. A raw umber, thoroughly rubbed back, but it's a very light stain. You can barely see it. Barely. Okay, just going to angle this down so we can see. And let me just adjust this one. When I go to this angle here, I will adjust this one so we can see too. There we go. And you're way out of focus, dude. There we go. Excellent. Got it. All right. Does it making a little study first take the joy out of the bigger painting? Not at all, Mohammed. You've already seen the final output. Not at all. Not at all. Every painting that I do with hindsight. I'm obsessed with creating my best possible work. Not just in the joy of painting, but I still get so excited. You want to be so obsessed about your idea and so just jazzed about this idea that you just can't wait to see the big final version and give it your best. Give it your absolute best shot. So does it take the joy out of it? No, I find quite the opposite. It gets me even more excited. If I know I've got a good design and a good drawing, and it's not to say this is the best drawing I could have done or best design I could have done. It's not that at all. I'm always improving and I know I can always do better. There's always another rung on that ladder. But for right now, this is what I could do. This was the best I had. So when I looked at it, I was like, yeah, that's it. I'm vibing with that. That makes sense. I was shifting birds around. I was trying to find the right composition. And the exciting thing is that I could come up easily with another 2 or 3 painting ideas just off this reference alone. So I think you got to be so driven and excited by the idea that just the instant gratification of just doing it and shooting from the hip, that's kind of secondary to the overall idea. Does that make sense? So I think it's always important to do your best. This is one way that I've found I can get the best idea onto the canvas. So if you haven't tried it, give it a go and see if you vibe with it. You know, you got to do you at the end of the day. That's a Dutch painter. That's right, Ed Klein. What do I paint my thumbnail on? Joni, the same thing. Linen. So I keep my offcuts when I'm stretching big canvases or making panels. I keep my offcuts and I go ahead and paint my color studies on those offcuts. So very little gets wasted here in the studio. So once again, for those who are arriving to class late, that's all right. That's all right. At least you're here. I'm using phthalo green and transparent red oxide for my underpainting here. My Verdaccio. Now, is it technically a Verdaccio? Well, yeah, it's green. That counts, doesn't it? But it's a tonal underpainting. I just like saying Verdaccio. Makes me feel cultured. Now, don't forget, if you like what you're seeing here, we're going to carry on with another 3 live streams over on Tisch Academy for our VIP members. So for our Tisch Academy VIP members, we're going to be finishing off this painting over a series of live streams. I'm going live same time tomorrow for a Tisch Academy VIP. And so you got to be in class to see this. And we're going to be finishing this painting off, not just tomorrow, but in next week's 2 live streams as well. But you got to be on Tisch Academy to see it. And right now you can get yourself 50% off. Click that link. It's pinned there in the chat. You can get 50% off for today only. Today only. We ran a little Black Friday deal. I told my tech guy, go ahead and put that up for another 24 hours. And let those people, those good people on the live stream, have access to that. So check it out. You get 50% off. Comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee if you decide it's not for you. But guaranteed, you're going to love it. You're going to love it. This might just be the thing you've been looking for to improve your art. There's over 400 hours there in the library over on Tisch Academy of premium painting video content. But not only that, we got an art fundamentals course. We've got an art business course, and we're adding to the library continually. Every week we upload hours of content, and I go live from the studio every week for 3 hours. The best part, though, is being part of that exclusive community. There are some of your best lifelong friends sitting there right now in that community that are waiting to meet you, hang out, and chop it up. Talk shop, talk art. What could be better? So if you're struggling going alone in the studio, then check that out. I don't know if you've noticed, but art can be a little bit of a lonely thing. But it's kind of nice being there with a few thousand of your closest friends. Am I right? It's awesome. A little bit of transparent red oxide now on the top of our bird's back, and I'll go ahead and work that edge. So I'm treating this as 2 simple shapes. You can see I got my dark shape here for the shadow being cast on the belly and the wing. And then across the back, I'm noticing this beautiful rusty color coming through. So I'll work through just a little bit of that lighter color, keeping the warmth of the red. We'll transition down into a little bit of that green as we meet that shadow. Blend slightly across that wing. And we can go back and trim it up, clean it up. We're going to get into those birds, but I want to attack that foliage in the background. So again, my Tisch Academy members have got access to that royalty-free, copyright-free reference material. If you want to paint the same dang thing, you can do it. And my tech guy, Jim Fairburn, has uploaded that right now in your Academy library in the live stream section. So for my Tisch Academy folks that are watching that right now, they can see that there. Okay. If well understood, I will have the possibility to see all of the lives did on the Academy. Yeah, absolutely. Natalie, yes, you can. You can see all of the past live streams in your library. Absolutely. Now that, to me, is just looking a little soft. Let me make sure I've got a good focus on this. There. There we go. That feels a little bit better. Yes, absolutely. You'll have access to all the past content. It's in your library, all those live streams. We're well over 100 live streams now. There's more painting content there than you have time. I'm just saying. There's a lot of hours there. And we just keep rolling. We keep it going. And we just started, if you're just starting out on your painting journey, we've just now started uploading some beginner-friendly content as well. So you can check out our How to Paint Trees series. That's been good fun. There's some drawing courses there too. We're uploading to those course libraries as well. So still uploading there. There's a lot. Anyway, enough on that. So I've got my paper towel. I've applied a little bit of a stain. I'm going to get in there and just remove a touch of material. Just rub it on down. We'll get some of that feather texture in here shortly. I do want to increase the contrast just across the back. I'm thinking about my design and shapes, and I'm thinking light against dark, dark against light, light against dark, dark against light, and creating a sense of contrast will bring some of those tail feathers on our rooster down a little bit to contrast against this hen in the foreground. There we go. Let's go ahead before we start working with any detail now, because what we want to do, we've got the big overall shape, right? But what we want to do is really nail down what's going on down here first in our painting before moving on to that. Let me just adjust those cameras and make sure that we're getting a good angle here. What colors would I use for a brown underpainting? Oh gosh, I would probably be tempted to use a little bit of burnt umber for that, but I do like Mars as well, some of the Mars pigments. So that could work. We are developing right now, I should say, Eric Silver over there at Blue Ridge. I've requested a transparent brown. So a brown oxide, not so red, as in transparent red oxide, but a brown oxide. Now, I could get there right now with transparent red oxide and ultramarine blue. That could work quite well. Okay, a little more phthalo green. Let's work in a little bit more of this material here. So as I'm going here, I'm thinking this is going to be grass. It's going to be illuminated. Want it to be relatively light. Use that paper towel, push that paint around, get it into the surface good. But remember, we can always come back and remove some of that material. We'll do it. We'll do it. I know you keep saying that, but yeah, we will. Trust me. I want to thank you for taking the time to join me in the studio today. Appreciate your company. I hope you're doing great wherever you are in the world. It still blows me away that you can watch these things live from all over the world. It's awesome. It's awesome. If we haven't met before, my name's Tish. Nice to meet you. I like to paint stuff. I really like to paint chickens. But I'm often painting landscapes, portraits, still life paintings. I paint just about anything. But I'm obsessed with traditional realism and traditional painting techniques. So this is what I break down a lot in my lessons online. Got a video that's about to drop today. It's coming your way. It's all about plein air painting. And it goes along with a blog that I put out on my website, andrewtischler.com. So stay tuned for that. We upload a new video every week. Every Wednesday, we put out a new YouTube video. So I hope you're enjoying the content from my longtime subscribers. And for my newbies, welcome. There's one thing about this painting that I particularly enjoy, and that's a feeling that these chickens are stepping out of this foliage and into the light. Now, when I was here, sick as a dog on Rarotongan, I was sitting out in the garden And I had my camera with me. I had to do something. And I was just watching these chickens just come in and out of that garden, onto the lawn, plucking around, right here at my feet. My son's about 2 years old. And then all these little chicks showed up. Now, I would have loved to have gotten this photograph, but unfortunately, chickens don't cooperate with you very well. They're terrible at following instructions. And they had their own ideas. So I just treated each bird individually and started documenting them as characters that I could drop into a painting at a later date. And it wouldn't be until 2 years later that I decided to actually paint it. But it's been sitting there on my desktop in a folder going, man, one day I gotta get those chickens. We gotta do it. And I'm just so grateful that you're here for it. So thank you for joining me. All right. Teresa, if you have ad blocker turned on, that could help you there. Thank you, Paula McMinn. I appreciate that so much. Okay. All right. Just having a look at the live chat. Hope you're in good form. Everything working out okay? Right. So I've got my dark value there. I'd like to darken up under this chicken back here. Now, early in the morning, like my brain does some silly things. And this morning when I got in, I had the Jurassic Park theme song, like the tune stuck in my head. But instead of like classical instruments, I think it was Zimmerman, wasn't it? But instead of the classical instruments, it was a bunch of chickens just balking. I want to do it for you now, but there you go. There's that mental image for you. I'm here pretty early and the brain does some silly things at that time of day. All right. Let's get over here and get some of that color down. One thing I've done with my design, a little bit of a vignette. So darken the corners, darken the edges, and focus that light almost as if it's a bit of a beam in the scene. All right. Don't want to lose my drawing, so I'll just paint around those little chickies. All right. Perhaps I'll add the foot in later. Yeah, I'm going to add the feet. 16 by 20, John Kreider. We got a 16 by 20 here. My typical linen panel as I do. Just need to make sure that's not about to fly off the easel while we're live. That would be bad. There we go. Secure that sucker down. Just going to get into a little bit of Gamsol here. Create a nice thin wash. And come through. Now, again, often I don't paint using solvent. So whenever I put the solvent down, like Gamsol here in this case, I'll come back with my paper towel and rub that back. Now, one of the reasons that I don't like to use the Gamsol in the paint is it has the tendency, as with a lot of solvents, to break those bonds in our pigment. So pigment wants to bind with a binder, but it wants to stick to other particles of pigment, and it adheres to that surface. When you add a solvent to it, you're breaking those bonds between those particles. So I try to remove as much of that excess as possible. Just don't want any soupy, too much fluidity in that surface. So we'll just work our way across. And as we kill more of that imprimatur, darken down our surface, starting to get more of an idea of light and shade here. Tiffany, yes, they would. Yes, they would. The concepts still apply. I encourage all my members to make the switch to oils because I just think they're so much better. I really do. But, you know, hey, no shade to my acrylic painters out there. You know, there's some great artists out there that work in acrylics. Artists like Robert Bateman. He's an acrylic guy. And I love that. And he does exceptional work. No one can argue with that. Exceptional artist. One of the greats is Robert Bateman. But just in my opinion, the surface quality that we can achieve with oils is just so nice. So much better. So I'd encourage you to get into it. Oftentimes people are painting with acrylics because there's a couple of things that they're trying to overcome, issues. Now it could be a toxicity thing. Okay, granted, I do use some pigments that are toxic. It's hardly non-toxic. They are toxic. You just don't get any on you. They don't release a fume. So I do use things like cobalt, cadmium, and lead. But this gives me the surface that I'm going for. And I'm trying to mimic what I've seen old masters using in their work. Not that I've seen any old masters working, but you know what I mean. When we look at the composition of their paintings, what their paintings are comprised of, they used these pigments like lead, you know, for instance. So I highly recommend making the switch. If you want a low toxic approach to painting in oils, it really comes down to the solvents and the mediums. Gamsol is pretty good. It doesn't appear to be quite as fumy as a lot of the solvents out there. And so that's why I've switched to Gamsol from pure gum turpentine. I do quite like the smell of pure gum turpentine. I can't stand mineral turpentine. But liquid original, that's the medium that I'm using. Now, it's pretty light in terms of the fumes, but there is a fume there. So if you don't like that, you could use solvent-free gel made by Gamblin, or you can use something like Rublev Oleo Gel. That works pretty good too. Or you don't have to use medium at all. You can just use straight paint. Maybe a little bit of linseed oil. Many different ways around it. I do like the liquid. I like the flexibility of the surface. I like the predictability of the material. Something I'm accustomed to and I've used for many years. But you got some options. So my question to my acrylic painters is, why are you working with acrylics? And if it's because of something to do with oil, I'm using acrylics because oil can't do, or oil has this, or oil does that, then I'll just get you to revisit that idea when it comes to oils. And I think you find if we just change your approach slightly, you can have a much more comfortable working environment with your oil paint and get all that benefit of surface quality and technique that you wouldn't be able to achieve otherwise with your acrylics. Some people don't like the Rooster having just one visible leg. Don't care, Roxanne. I'm going to keep going. So we'll get it in there. Have you ever painted on ABS panel? No, I haven't. What's your experience? I haven't done it, Pixel. Could we just use paper towels instead of Gamsol? Yes, you can, but you'll find that it's difficult to mobilize that paint, which we'll want to do at some point. So I will get another Rooster foot in there. I think he's going to be holding his leg up. But where the position I've got him in, he's taking a big step and his leg happens to be hid behind the hen. For those of you hating on me in the comments, I mean, where's his leg? Now my chicks, what I'm going to do is just get in here with a bit of this transparent red oxide. And they really look like just little tiny fuzzy balls. They're not much of anything. But we will detail them, but just for now, for the underpainting, just want to get a general sense of shape here. They got a funny little character. It's kind of cute. But I'm not going to worry about that detail quite as much. Coming up on the top of the hour, I'm going to be with you for one more hour. We got a little bit of stuff to get on with here. Thanks again for joining me. Do you get repetitive strain injury when you paint for a long time? No, Edie. I mean, I can get a little bit tight in the shoulders. You know, my posture ain't so good. Sometimes I hunch a little bit, but I try to train every day. So I take a break mid-morning and I go to the gym and try and move my body a little bit, and I find that helps me. I can actually get a few more hours in if I have a nice gym session. Do some light weights, move my body, loosen up a little bit, do a bit of stretching. Sometimes I'll stretch during the day, so it's important. But I find that the repetitive strain injuries, which I used to get, like brutal shoulder pain, I don't tend to get these days. Probably because I've just changed my lifestyle a little bit. So Tiffany, I don't use generally solvents between brush changes. I don't use solvents in my painting, generally speaking. So there goes that issue. So if you're using solvents to wash off your brush as you're painting, that could be what's going on for you right there. I would recommend just paint. Don't and keep the brush washing for later on. After your studio session, go ahead and wash your brushes then, but not as you're painting. Now, a lot of artists, I mean, they'll wash as they go. I get it. It's all good. But I tend to wash at the end of the session. Gamsol is pretty good. Again, it's got a little bit of oil content there. It's low fume, low toxic. So it's been a really nice change for me here in the studio. As I said, it doesn't bother me quite as much as mineral turpentine or anything else. So it's a good one. So I made the switch in recent years. Is it bad to use acrylic as an underpainting? Not at all, Siobhan. Not at all. Should you step back from your canvas here? You can, Mac. You can step back anytime. I do recommend getting up out of the chair, out of the stool, and looking at your work from a distance. I do. But I'm going to keep painting because I'm having a good time here. Hope you are too. Thanks again for joining me. Now, Mac, you're 10 years old over there, right? You're in the US? Bro, are you skipping school? As we would say down under, are you wagging? You wagging school, bro? I think they call it playing hooky over there in the US. Dude, I'd totally do that just to watch a live stream on oil painting. That'd be cool. Stay in school, kids. No, you're actually sick. With a cold. Sorry, bro. Okay. Well, get better soon. All right, we got one little chickie. Let's get this little guy. Will you be finishing off your color study? Yes, I will, Lynn. That's on my list of things to do today because I want you to be able to see, as an Academy member, the full painting. So I'm going to be doing the full painting on the live stream, but here behind the scenes, I'm just going to finish off my color study so that I know that road ahead, as we were saying before. You know the saying, everybody has 20/20 vision with hindsight. You know, I just don't want to, you know, and Muhammad was saying something earlier about, hey, doesn't that take the joy out of painting? So one of the things that I'm trying to avoid is, you know, yes, I want to feel the joy while I'm painting, and I do. It's awesome. It's fun. But one thing I don't like is the dread of knowing that, oh man, I missed the mark there. I missed an opportunity there. Shoulda, coulda, woulda. We all feel that, right? After the fact. Oh man, should have done this. Could have moved the rock. Should have moved the tree. Added another tree. But what if you can make those decisions early on before you started the final painting so that you knew the road ahead? Now, that's not to say, don't get it twisted, that there's things that you won't think of later after you've already done the big painting that you could have done better. That's always going to happen. But generally, you end up finding solutions that you're like, wow, okay, I can definitely see that I'm going to be on the right track. By the way, what I'm doing now is I'm just breaking up this surface just a little bit with a bit of that Gamsol. I'll come through with my paper towel, just rub back lightly, remove just a couple of those blades of grass. Just create a bit of a sense of texture. Oh, look at that. Our entire surface is covered. Jolly good. We've covered our entire surface. So now what we want to do is refine. So I'm going to go back into the background now and start working with some brushes and start removing material. And then I think today what we'll do is we'll get working on the rooster and see if we can really bring that rooster out. Now there was something there that y'all were saying about the leg. You didn't like the leg. Well, I don't know why you don't like the leg. But I think you might be right. You might be right. Maybe he should have a leg. So I'm going to pull up on my other screen here a little bit of reference, and I'm going to flip this guy around. And yeah, you know what? I think he could use a little bit of a leg. So why don't we do that? So maybe right there in front of the beak. Maybe his other leg could come right here. So he's taken a step. But here we'll see that claw, back toe, and his little weird chicken foot coming down. So that might help. There we go. We'll figure it out. Yeah, no turbo, no kidding. Did you use anything to slow down the drying of the paint? No. I'm just using a little bit of Liquid Original. So it's going to be tricky now to remove some of this material here. And you'll notice something. Notice how light that's gone. This has already started to dry. So it's going to be a little bit tricky. We're going to have to use a bit of vigorous action to remove some of that material as we go. We could have slowed the drying down, but I wanted it to dry relatively quick. One of the reasons why, we're going to be layering over the top of this tomorrow. And I want it to be completely dry by the time we do that. No one knows it's a mistake except you. Best to keep it a secret. I'm too honest for that. He could use a bit of a leg up, says Len. I see what you did there. Is there a Discord? No. I mean, it all takes place right there, Chris, on the platform, on Tisch Academy. No Discord needed. Okay. How many hours a day do you paint? Generally, I'm getting a 40-hour work weekend, so it averages out to about 8 to 10 hours a day. But right now, I'm probably getting in way more than that on the painting as I work towards an exhibition that we're having in a few weeks, and here at the gallery in Wanaka, as well as what else are we doing? I'm working on commission work as well here in the background, so got a lot to do. All right, so foliage. Hey? How about that? Let's just start. Let me get a little bit of Gamsol on my brush. 9:06. I'm going to keep up with you here for another hour. Thanks again for joining me. Now, with just Gamsol on my brush, I'm noticing here I've got palm fronds. What could be better? Chickens and palms. This is very typical of what you'd see in Rarotongan. Little island there, group of islands in the Pacific. Beautiful place. Really is a tropical paradise. What I loved is the culture, the lifestyle of people that have been living off that land for hundreds of years. And you just see chickens just wandering the island everywhere. Chickens all over the place. And some of the roosters are just spectacular. So I'll come through. Move a little bit of paint. And I like this pattern that opens up in the background. And I'm just removing the paint on the surface. There's no extra brush work or anything. Just coming through with my brush and removing that paint. We're going to mess this up with a variety of marks. Those palm fronds can form some chaotic parallel lines. Not too much order, not too much pattern repetition, but just a bit of an indication of something going on back there. A mess of tropical foliage. Now, as this cuts through, I'm thinking about these lines here. They're going to be a little bit darker. And then across the front, Let's have some lighter. Lighter leaves that cut down in. Now, if you need to control the removal of paint, just pressing that paper towel against the surface can really help rather than dragging across. You can lift off a little bit of that pigment. All right. I'm watching on my TV and using the laptop to chat. The color is totally different from the other. On the TV, it's Wizard of Oz green. On the laptop, it's olive green, which is right. I'd say it's more of an olive there, Joni. I'd say it's more of an olive. Check your settings on your TV. And we even have a few broadleaf species here in the background, which we can find subtly and remove just a touch. And even though it's starting to dry off, we can go a little ways towards removing. Thinking about our tones. So it's not going to be like light or dark. I want a gradation and a hierarchy of those values from some of our darkest darks, like we'll find there in our tail, versus some of the little mid-tones that we're going to see there in the background. So I want every step in that hierarchy of value. Now, if we don't fully realize that here in this process with our underpainting, we can always work more with that in the next step, the next phase. Okay, I see some pretty light colors there of our palm frond in the background. Let's bring some of those through. They seem to cut across right here. So remove a little bit of material there and then wipe it away. I like that pattern left by the paper towel. It's kind of, it almost feels like scales in a way. Interesting. Give you a little bit more of a view here of the foliage at the top. Anyway, welcome to the studio. I hope you're doing well. We got one more hour to go. This is coming along nicely, says Nikki. Thank you, Nikki. Thanks, Dan. See you tomorrow. Do you have anything on your brushes when you're lifting off? Yes, so just a little bit of Gamsol is on the brush. Just a little bit of Gamsol. How many pieces would you suggest an emerging artist paint to practice for a solo or a group show? How long should you aim for them to have them completed? Generally, I would give yourself at least 6 months to put together a body of work. If it's a group show, show up with your best 3. If it's a solo, then you want to aim for something like 15 to 20. Avoid 30. 30 is too much. I think it says something to your potential buyers that there's too much availability. You want your paintings to be as rare as hen's teeth. Ha! Get it? Get it? Okay, whatever. I'm just clucking around. All right. Okay. Let's pick up another one of these here. It's coming in behind. Clean up some of those lines. Man, I gotta tell Rosemary that I love these ivory flats. I tell you what, they are beautiful. They're giving a really nice control and precision to those marks, nice sharp edges. I did say I want some softness back here, but we'll achieve that in the next phase. We'll cross over here, John Edwards style. Just cut across some of those. Yeah. Awesome. It's kind of breaking up the background a little bit. That's neat. I'm enjoying it. Hope you are too. Could almost be a nocturne at the moment. It could. Yeah, actually, you know, that's an interesting idea. We should have done this on the Venice painting. Hey, Nikki. That's foul comments, Andrew. Yeah. Saturated market and lull to the daddish chicken jokes. Yeah. So there you go. No turbo. What's your opinion of water-soluble oil paints like the ones made by Holbein? Look, they're okay to use, but I personally don't. I just stick with traditional media, traditional materials, and I have a very traditional approach when it comes to oil paint. You know, I want to learn how the old masters did it. I want to teach to the best of my ability some of the practices, techniques, philosophy, and methods of the old masters, with a little bit of a contemporary twist, because we do have access to materials, mediums and such, solvents and such, and pigments that they wouldn't have had back in the day. It still blows my mind how they used to make colors. Like a particular variety of red from crushed beetles, bone black from charred bones, ivory black from ivory, ultramarine from crushed up lapis lazuli. It's incredible how they're like, how do we make these pigments, these colors? And to be a color maker, you know, you were valuable back in the day, especially if you knew how to make a good purple or a green. Indian yellow. Yeah, don't get me started on the Indian yellow. Yeah. I think they'd get cows to eat a particular variety of plant, and it would turn their urine a particularly strong golden color, and they could use that. How do you discover that? That's what I want to know. But I use Indian yellow. Pat Wallace, the combination is phthalo green and transparent red oxide. And purple from snails. There you go. There you go. Okay. We've got something there in terms of background. I would like to have a couple of these cheeky flowers coming through. Everyone likes flowers. I love them in a painting. We'll have a couple of little notes of color back here. This is actually, truth be told, a study for a much larger painting. Completely different composition. But here I'm just working out my technique, my colors, my palette for foliage. And some of these varieties of plants and species. And I'm going to carry the lessons that I'm learning here in the studio. And you're like, well, hang on a second. You're a professional. What are you doing still learning? I'm still learning. You never stop learning. You never want to be done with learning. Trust me. But I'm going to carry this into this commissioned project that I'm working on. Shout out to Jean, watching from Christchurch. Do I use golden ochre? I have done. I'm using now raw sienna, which I'm really enjoying. Mummy brown. Yeah, wow. There you go. Mangoes. Yeah. Okay. So at the moment, those are going to end up being a couple of flowers, but I want to get to work on the rooster. We got it. We got to send it on the rooster. So let's do it. So what I'm going to do here, get you a good view of Mr. Rooster, and take this opportunity before we close out our last hour and just tell you, if you're just joining, if you're just coming in late, you got 24 hours to take advantage of our Black Friday sale, which is 50% off your Tisch VIP, Tisch Academy VIP experience. Now, becoming a member of Tisch Academy couldn't be easier. It's just one click away. I've pinned it to the comments here. If you're watching live, you'll find it top linked in the description down below. You get 50% off your full year membership there. So what do you get for that? I'm going live from the studio each and every week for my Academy VIP members. Also, you've got access to over 400 hours of premium painting content in the Tisch Academy library. And that also includes your oil painting fundamentals course, beginner-friendly tutorials, as well as an art business coach. If you're looking in your intermediate to advanced and you're looking at going pro, you're about to make that jump, we talk a lot about the art business. If you got aspirations and dreams to go pro with your art and you're just starting out, then I guarantee there's going to be a lot of content there for you as well. But that's not all. You've got access to the exclusive community. And we have, in my opinion, the best community ever. Like freaking ever. It is just so encouraging, so supportive. It's a great culture in there. People from all around the world unified by this passion and this love for art and painting. So if that sounds like you, check it out. It comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. You got nothing to lose, so jump in, check it out. Tisch Academy VIP. Click that link down below. Click that link there pinned in the comments. And on that note, I'm going to take a short break and be right with you. And we're going to continue to work on our rooster. Okay, don't go anywhere. I'll be right back. And welcome back. Let's keep going, shall we? Okay, so for this next part, I need a little more precision and control. So I'm going to grab a couple of ivories again, but this time I'm going to make them ivory rounds. Now this one's very small. It's a 0. And I'm also going to use a Shiraz round number 2. So 2 pretty small brushes. I'm going to get myself some new paper towel. Why did I set it down here? There we go. And I got my Gamsol on hand. So to do this, what we're going to do is, in a controlled way, jump in here and surgically remove a little bit of material, carve around, and then get in there and add a bit more as well. Let's just get you lined up right there so we can see it good. I should say so. Jolly good. There we go. And make sure you're focused. I'm loving the chicken jokes, by the way. Keep them coming. Big fan of dad jokes too. If Gary's in the house, he can bring it. Yeah, man. And then I want to have another little brush on the go. This one here is a Eclipse comber. So I've got a couple of synthetic rounds, as you can see there, and a very small flat synthetic brush that's going to help me. So I'll use these two here to remove material, and this one here to add a bit of material. So we'll get that into the Gamsol. Now, when I dip my brush in the Gamsol, here's the other thing I'm doing. I'm just coming over here to the paper towel, and I'm just pushing down slightly and just removing that excess from the brush. Because I don't want drips, you see. So I'm just going to tap that lightly right there on the paper towel. And I've got just enough here to come up and remove a little bit of material for a highlight. Now, it doesn't need to be the brightest highlight ever. It can be just slightly lighter. Remember, we're going to come back and add paint over the top. So this isn't going to be what I call my tonal best. You saw the reel we just put out. You know, I like to save my tonal best for last. So knowing that I've got more in this process to happen, I don't have to apply that just yet. A little highlight that's coming through on the cheek. A little pad there. Gosh, he's got so much character. That's the thing. Foghorn Leghorn here has got some character, I tell you what. So I said we'd use this brush to remove a bit of material. This is a dry brush. We can come through. And use it just to draw across that surface. So what I'll do is come through here, do this first. Just adjusting that underpainting. Now you can, like we were doing before, you remember how sharp that ivory flat was, but we can also use this. I said I'd use this for adding material, but to get a sharper line, like right there on that. What do we call it? There's a name for it in chickens. I should have done my research. What do they call that thing? Wattles? It's not a gobble gobble. That's turkeys, I know. Familiar with that, but what do they call that? Let me know in live chat. Yeah, Siobhan, if you're a studio member of the Academy, there will be some sort of demonstration lesson, but it'll be a bit shorter for my non-Academy members. There you go. That thing, says Cindy. They call it that thing. Indeed. Okay, let's rock with that. You know the thing. That's right. Reaching over here to just get a little bit of pigment. Now, I should get my maul stick out to steady my hand, but I'll do the best I can freehand. Add his little eye in there. Very chickeny. The top is called a comb. So it's called a wattle, and the top is called a comb. Good. Thank you, Nikki. I'll also use this opportunity to grab my transparent red oxide, transparent yellow oxide. No, sorry, transparent red oxide. I'm on autopilot. And phthalo green. Mix up a bit of that color. Touch of liquid original. Again, keeping that ratio, 1 part medium to 3 parts paint, right? Same ratio. Come in here. We'll just clean up our edge a little bit. Working in that background. I think I'm going to have to do a lot more Verdaccios. This is fun. If you're not painting with this type of underpainting yet, give it a go. Super quick, gives you a tonal result very quickly. You get a sense of your value very quickly. This will do something else for me though. It's going to really do a great job at tying all the color together because I've got this unifying base coat. So if color coordination is something that you're struggling with, sometimes an underpainting can really help. Now I've got a little bit of Gamsol on the brush. And so I'll carry this through and start removing here a bit of feather texture. With my paper towel, dab that on the surface. You can see the print of the paper towel on the surface, but I kind of like it. It's kind of interesting, right? Very interesting. I'm totally going to try it, says Michelle. Awesome. Just removing a bit more material. Again, so just a few feathers at a time, just a few. Don't go too far with it before just giving it a dab with your paper towel. And if you just press into the surface, you won't be smearing too much paint. So just push it in there. But one thing I'm doing is I'm folding that paper towel so that fresh paper towel is making contact with that surface. Now, you'll find that I weight it towards one corner so you can see it's there. So I can totally use this corner right here next. Now, it might seem like a no-brainer, but I want to try and explain everything that I'm doing here in studio so that you can have a go if you're doing this in yours. Now, that's one thing about my particular style of teaching. You'll come to know very quickly that I don't have any secrets. There's nothing that I'm doing here in the studio that I'm not going to share with you and tell you. So that's going to give you all the stuff that I find that works and things that I find that I experiment with that don't. But having done this now professionally for 24 years, I've honed in on a methodology that I'm going to share with you exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing it. And for the first time, in our beginner content that we've started uploading, you're going to see virtually every brushstroke and mix of color. Now we're starting to get that lighter tone that's coming through. There's a beautiful sheen coming off some of those iridescent feathers. I want to capture some of that. If we're clever, we can pick up our paint, mobilize it, and like a wave, push an accumulation towards one edge, create that feather-like texture. Bit of excess solvent there, pick that up. Jump in there with a slightly drier brush. Remove some more. Gosh, good fun. I can't believe how fast the time goes. I did want to cover this. I think mission accomplished. We covered it. That was the goal. But I'm going to be honest with you. I think today here in the studio, I got my work cut out for me. So I'm going to film the rest of this process here in studio, off the live, and continue to work with my underpainting. I want to see how much detail I can cram into these birds just in the underpainting, and really pave the way for the next session where we apply colors for our Academy VIP live stream tomorrow, when we glaze some colors in and lay in some thicker strokes as well. Would you ever paint with iridescent colors to capture what you see as iridescence in a reference photo? Micah, no. That's an interesting question though, brother. Really interesting question. So it's a bit like this, right? Painting gold. Painting gold. What set my mind at this? Because I was thinking about this. Should I add iridescent or shiny, shimmery paint to my palette here? You can buy pearlescent paint. That can work. But I want to paint the effect, the visual effect of iridescence. And I think if I'm on the right track, I'll give my viewer the impression that those feathers are really iridescent and shining with those colors. If I'm just paying attention to value and color. But if you turn either way, I don't want the feathers to shine per se. So I'm just going to use straight color with, for the most part, a direct painting technique. But that's a really interesting concept, isn't it? Now, I saw John William Waterhouse do this with the painting he did. Google it and look up John William Waterhouse Cleopatra. And if I'm not mistaken, in this painting, she's wearing a golden shawl, or she's got like a bit of trim around her. Like there's a bit of gold on her garments. And you could swear that those garments are gold. Like it looks like gold. But he didn't use gold leaf or gold paint. He was painting the effect, the visual effect of that material. I'll give you another one. Google Joaquin Sorolla, Sorolla, Spanish artist, amazing painter, somebody you definitely need to be aware of and have an inspiration file on your desktop of Sorolla paintings. But I don't know the title of the painting, but it's a nude, and she's laying on satin sheets. Similarly, with the sheen and shine on satin, even though it's incredibly painterly, as Sorolla was known for his amazing painterly technique, it's the effect of satin without painting with anything that was reflective. Now, that said, there's something I'm experimenting with here in the background. We have here in New Zealand, in this part of New Zealand, a lot of mica. Now, mica, it's a particular type of earth, and it shimmers in the sun. There's a lot of gold here as well. Often with mica, shale, and quartzite, you'll find gold just laying loose. Tough to find. You got to pan for it. You got to sleuth for it. But you'll find it just in a lot of the riverbeds. And as part of the geological processes that shaped New Zealand, there's a lot of gold here. So you might find something similar in the United States and elsewhere in the world, in Australia and Tasmania. But that said, the mica powder shimmers and shines. I've tried adding this to white. I'm running a bit of an experiment. Mica, if you're in the Academy VIP live stream tomorrow, please remind me, and I'll talk to you about the tests that I've been running. Because I do want to create a couple of highlights that seem to catch the light and reflect it and spread out that reflection at many different angles. So it's something that I'm thinking about. Could it work for iridescence? Maybe. But for this painting, I'm just going to paint just direct painting techniques to give the impression of iridescence without relying on pearlescent paint. So we'll talk about it. So I'm applying a little bit of dark color now and just cleaning up some of my rooster. And man, I don't know about you, but I can see exactly where this guy's holding place. I'm starting to get a feeling for his character. The character of those feathers, the direction that the feathers are laid out. And that's what I really wanted to achieve here in this particular live stream. Getting a little indication of light, but we could bring more of that. Certainly more of it's going to come through in the next session. But so far, so good. Got Rembrandt's Golden Helmet done in oils too. Exactly. Michelle, that's a great example. Yes, absolutely. The iridescence will be like the shells. Yes, I've got a demonstration right now, Micah, if you haven't seen it. And if you're watching this in your studio, then check it out. But I painted power shells. My Aussies would call it abalone. But there's an iridescent type of seashell done an arrangement of seashells. In fact, shout out to Arnaldo. Arnaldo's got the original version of that painting. But yes, I did paint iridescence in that one as well. So you'll see a real example of how I did that without relying on pearlescent paints. More still lifes coming in 2026 is something I'm really excited to work on. Love still lifes. In fact, in the most recent plein air installment that we're going to be putting out today in the Tisch Academy library, if you can't get outside and paint plein air, I highly recommend adding a practice of still life painting to your repertoire. Really inspired by what George Lambert, an Australian artist, once said. An artist should not be bound to subject. That the real test for an artist is to faithfully represent not only the colors and textures of the landscape, or the skin of the thigh of the sitting model, or a head of cauliflower. The true test of an artist is to faithfully represent whatever he or she is presented with. And I love that. Neon. Neon would be interesting. You get a chance to see Soroy's paintings? Go. Yeah. When you started teaching, did you feel the imposter syndrome? How did you refrain your... yeah, that imposter syndrome comes up for many artists and art teachers for sure. Here's my feeling when it comes to teaching, though, seeing as your question is framed in regards to teaching there. Pixel Mosh Pit. I figured, and I have this philosophy, everybody is my superior in some way. I also believe that every human being was created in the image of God. But everybody is my superior in some way. They have something to teach me, something that I could learn. I don't care if they're 4 years old. I tell you what, I'm learning some facts about dinosaurs from my son. So, and he's recently turned 4 years old. I learn a lot from my boy. Don't get it twisted. He learns a lot from his old man too. But everybody, don't care who it is my superior in some way. And then I realized, hang on a second. I was feeling that imposter syndrome. I thought, but I got something to say. So I'm just going to say it. For those who don't resonate with my message, they move right along. That's okay. It's not for everybody. Some artists want to take bananas to walls and convince themselves that what they're doing is art. I don't believe it is, but I'm grateful that they're out there taping items from the fruit bowl to the wall. That's great. I want them to keep doing it. I hope it makes them happy. For what I have to say, I hope that it serves others in some way, and I hope it helps. And so when I realize that somebody somewhere is going to benefit from this, what I need to do is just get over myself and my own fears and my own ego. It's not, I had to overcome my ego to put myself out there. I don't put myself out there because of my ego. Yes, I've got one. Don't get it twisted. But I try not to let it rule me. And so when I start getting real self-conscious, I suddenly start thinking to myself, hang on, I'm too caught in my head and I'm too worried about what others think. I just need to get over myself. And poof, there goes the imposter syndrome. Gone. The minute you open yourself up to the comment section on YouTube, it's a humbling experience. But just realize that it's not going to be for everybody, and that's okay. Totally cool. Thank you very much, Vina Pintar. 90, appreciate that. That's a lovely comment. Now, I got to shout out my buddy here, Joe Paquette, because what he said to me on the podcast really resonated with me at the time, still does to this day. But art is an act of doing what you love, but having the guts to put it out there. When you focus on what you love and what's genuinely within you as an authentic expression, the voice of those haters gets quieter and quieter and starts to diminish as nothing but background noise. Don't worry about it. But you got to have the guts to put out into the world, what do you love? What do you love? What's in you? Now, is everybody into chickens? No. Is everybody going to be beating down the door to buy these chickens off the gallery wall? No. But I love them, so I'm going to paint them. Don't do what's popular. Do what you love. If what you love happens to be popular, hey, fantastic. But start with you and start with what's an authentic, genuine expression based on what you love. That's what I recommend. All right, Millie sent to art. Millie, I would have a look at this. If you can't get it quite as dark as what you're seeing here on your screen, then just a little more phthalo green and a little more transparent red oxide. But if you're using Blue Ridge, you'll find that they are running a little bit darker than other brands. I like a nice deep phthalo green. I found in some brands they can be quite light, right? Quite light. Don't die with your music still in you, says Michelle. I love that. Agreed. Agreed. Got 5 minutes left in this live stream. I know we went a little bit late, but that's coming up on 3 hours, just a little under. I really sincerely hope you've enjoyed this live stream and you've come away with the new technique, Verdaccio. It's fun to say. It's even more fun to paint. So transparent red oxide, phthalo green, you know the deal. Tomorrow in our Academy exclusive live stream, we are going to be painting right over the top of this. In the meantime, though, I'm going to finish off my underpainting. As I tell my boys here working with me in studio, I'm going to send it. And then tomorrow, we'll add those colors right over the top. If you want to be in the front row seat, notebook in hand with your cup of coffee, maybe a brush, then you got to click that link up there and join us and get 50% off your Tisch VIP Academy membership. We're running that for today only. We've been running it for Black Friday. If you didn't hear about it, I asked my tech guy to just make that available for another 24 hours. So get in, check it out. Comes with a 30-day money-back guarantee. You got nothing to lose. Would love to see you in class tomorrow, where we'll continue with this painting. And just to give you a snapshot, we're going to keep going with this painting and finish it off in a series of live streams here in studio. to give you an idea of detail techniques, all the considerations that we go through to fully realize our concept. I'm sneaking in here with my little comber, and you can see how we can get some nice surgically sharp marks here to separate out some of our feathers. Love it. But I want to thank you for joining me in the studio today. If you're not already subscribed to the YouTube channel, make sure you do so. Hit the like button so it helps push this out in the algorithm. Really appreciate that. I appreciate you spreading the word. Just going to mix up here on my brush. You can't see my palette right now, but mix up here on the brush. A little bit more of that deeper phthalo green, transparent red oxide. Get some of those darks of the tail that are sneaking through. I'm going to enjoy painting the iridescence on these tail feathers. It's going to be good fun. Now, because I've been using liquid, it's already starting to go a bit sticky, which means that if I continue to reload my brush, I'm going to overcome that background. I'm not going to be lifting any paint now because it's already started to go off and really stick to the surface. So I'm going to use that to my advantage and layer into it darker and darker to really deepen the tone back here as I sharpen up my rooster. Man, this is good fun. Good fun. Get a little bit more tone. Excuse me, I know I'm in front. I'm just dipping my brush into the gamsol there. See if we can't remove a little more of that color. This time a dry bristle brush. Really push that off the surface. Right there. Do a pretty good job removing material. Dry bristle brush there. All right. That's cool, Angus. We used to keep chickens, he says. A rooster called Zeus. I couldn't think of a better name for a rooster. Awesome. Well, I hope you've enjoyed it. Let's take a look. We've pretty much firmly established our composition. What I'm going to do is carry on here in studio, so I'm ready to go for tomorrow's live stream when we add color to the top. But we've used transparent red oxide and phthalo green. That's it. A little more of the red oxide here for some of our highlights on our hens and our rooster, as you can see here. But those two colors combined together make a really deep tone, a nice olivey green to black color, which we've used in some of these darker areas that you see here. So good fun. Hope you've enjoyed it. I want to say thank you so much for joining me here in the studio. Really, really appreciate your company. And again, make sure you like and subscribe if you've hung around here to the very end. I really appreciate you doing that. And I will see you again in the next live stream. And for anybody who's wanting to join us, Academy VIP, 50% off, click that link. I will see you tomorrow in class, same time. All right, we'll go live for another 3 hours. I will see you there. Thanks so much, and we will see you soon. Bye.